Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session titled AI Product Management, Strategies, Challenges, and Winning Tactics. My name is Albert Yam, and I'm currently a Principal Product Manager at Productboard. During the session, we'll go over three main topics. One, how to identify AI products opportunities. Secondly, how to go to market with AI. And thirdly, how to build AI products that win. Overall, during this session, I'd like to focus on a few key examples from Productboard as well as my own career to illustrate to you how to think about developing AI products with some core examples and case studies that you can take to your team. To give a little bit more information about my own background, I've worked at a variety of industry-leading AI product firms, namely one, Nielsen, where I owned the development of our digital ad ratings product. Secondly, Data.ai, where I led the development of our usage intelligence product line to help mobile app marketers, investors, and analysts identify which apps were trending up in different markets. Thirdly, I worked at 6sense, developing our core segmentation and 6sense qualified account capabilities to help marketers identify the appropriate revenue opportunities at the right time with the right message. And in my current role at Productboard, I'm leading the development of Productboard Pulse, a tool that enables product managers to quickly and effectively analyze customer feedback at scale with AI. Throughout this presentation, I'll include key references to the current product I'm working on, Productboard Pulse, which enables product managers to analyze fragmented feedback at scale, synthesize it with AI, and link that feedback directly to their product roadmaps so that they can adjust them appropriately. There's a few key tenets of how to build an AI product that I'll also be referencing specifically for Pulse. One, how to build trust in AI products. Secondly, how to think through the data quality and needs of AI products. And thirdly, how to think about the actionable workflows that you might want to build for your AI solutions. So throughout this presentation, I'll really focus on those three main themes of trust, data, and actionability. From a trust perspective, you want to make sure that you have clearly identified where in the workflow humans will still continue to be in the loop while AI handles the rest. From a data perspective, we'll touch on how to think about data quality, volume, and challenges associated with any AI developed solution. And lastly, from an actionability perspective, we'll touch on how to think about AI workflows. So I'd like to start off with touching on how to build trust in your AI products and solutions. Overall, what we've seen at Productboard, as well as throughout the other products that I've worked on throughout my career, is that users won't just trust AI just because it's there. Trust has to be earned. The requirement here is that any AI product must enable transparent decision-making as well as enable sources to be cited so that users can really build trust in the outputs of any AI models. So I'd like to talk through that with a few quick examples, starting off with Productboard Pulse, as well as secondly, talking through my experience at 6sense. At Productboard, with Productboard Pulse, we enable users to synthesize and analyze their customer feedback at scale by looking at all of the customer feedback that they pulled into our system. What we've really seen in order to make our product successful is that customers really need to build trust in the data by understanding the notes that are being pulled with respect to a given analysis capability. What we've seen with Productboard Pulse is that users really need to understand the citations and notes references that are being pulled for a given analysis so that they can build trust in the synthesis that our system is providing. For example, we might suggest to someone that they really need to focus on their Salesforce integration. The user really wants to see which customers and what specific quotes are referencing that request. Similarly, at 6sense, what we really invested in was the ability to provide clear value metrics for users. The promise of 6sense qualified accounts, or 6QAs, was that they would enable BDRs as well as marketers to target and convert accounts more effectively as they approach the top of their marketing funnel. What we did was invest heavily in the ability to compare and contrast accounts that were 6QA'd versus those that weren't in order to show the relative conversion rates as well as opportunity sizes associated with those 6QAs. And what we found and were able to prove were that 6QAs were across the board appropriately converting accounts at higher rates, as well as driving higher opportunity sizes and faster deal cycles, which resulted in users trusting the outputs of our models, namely the 6QA prediction. The second main theme that I want to talk through in terms of thinking about how to build AI products is data quality. AI models really fall short when they're built on poor quality data, regardless of the level of sophistication of the models. Garbage in, garbage out is the classic anachronism. So the solution here is really, of course, to make sure that you're investing in not only clean data, but also well-structured data while thinking through the AI implementation that you might have. Ultimately, quality data trumps model complexity every time. To provide another set of examples with respect to the need for high quality data, at Productboard, what we've invested heavily in is a centralized feedback hub that ingests all of your customer feedback at scale in a well-structured format, such that we can, for example, variably pull in customer feedback associated with your Salesforce opportunities to the customer feedback that you might be receiving in public marketplaces, such as like the app stores, support tickets that you might be receiving in your Zendesk implementation. comprehensive understanding of all the data sources and all the feedback signals that you might be receiving with respect to customer feedback. To provide another example from my experiences at Data.ai as the owner of our usage intelligence product line, we invested heavily in developing a high quality data set of truth data as well as panel data. From a truth data set perspective, we integrated heavily with our users' App Store accounts to ensure that we had a robust, clean data set from which to base any model accuracy estimates against, as well as secondly, heavily invested in a global panel of users from which we were able to collect ongoing daily market signals. The combination of these really enabled us to construct a high quality algorithm for producing mobile app market estimates. The third main theme that I would like to emphasize here is actionability and how to make AI insights appropriately useful. What we've seen at both Productboard as well as other companies that I worked at throughout my career has been that AI insights that don't necessarily connect to workflows become interesting, but aren't really able to become business critical and drive key business results. As a result, what we've invested heavily in is embedding AI capabilities directly within existing user workflows, such that they integrate directly into them and are able to provide a seamless user experience. This really enables AI to drive appropriate business results as opposed to being just a nice to have. To provide some examples here again, with respect to Productboard Pulse, we invest heavily in providing direct methods to integrate user feedback into your roadmaps, such that you can, one, show proof points associated with each of the roadmap items that you might have, as well as secondly, make decisions regarding your roadmap and appropriately prioritize or deprioritize themes based on the user feedback you might be receiving. To provide another example from my experience at Nielsen, where I own digital ad ratings, the core value proposition of the product was to enable advertisers as well as publishers to agree on a single source of truth and transact on that single source of truth regarding the on-target ad delivery that they had. So there's a direct flow there from the metrics that we were developing to key business decisions that marketers as well as publishers were making in terms of ad inventory allocation, targeting parameters, and training data sets, etc. In addition to building AI products the right way, you also need to go to market in the right way with respect to AI products. And the classic framework here is, of course, crossing the chasm. What we've seen at Productboard, as well as throughout the other experiences that I've had in my career, is that AI solutions really struggle to move from early adopters to mainstream users. These days, with respect to the many LLM solutions in the markets, many developers and software firms are, of course, familiar with and able to contextually apply these solutions to their business workflows. However, of course, mainstream industries and personas really struggle to understand how to appropriately prompt AI, how to appropriately embed AI into the workflows. And that's really where they need a lot of handholding in order to appropriately, simply integrate into their workflows. What we see with many products that are unsuccessful in the market these days is that they're really over-engineered to those early adopters in terms of software development firms or otherwise, and struggle to appeal to the majority. So the solution here is to really create simple, intuitive experiences that fit naturally into users' existing workflows. To provide another example here at Productboard, we've had a lot of success appealing to a lot of mainstream customers, primarily because we're able to, one, work with them on a collaborative basis within the product, as well as secondly, work with them with our own go-to-market teams and make sure that we're serving as a thought partner to those product teams appropriately. The last area that I want to talk about today is change management in AI solutions. What we've seen is that it's really challenging for mainstream customers to adopt new AI functionalities as they're being built. They don't necessarily want to be on the cutting edge of new capabilities as the kinks are being worked out and bugs are being fixed. So there needs to be really transparent decision logic regarding how and when to build these new features for customers and appropriately enable non-technical users to become familiar with workflows, familiar with the technology behind them, and serve as champions for adoption of those technologies in their systems. Ultimately, of course, humans must maintain the final authority associated with any AI-developed products in terms of approval processes, suggestion processes, etc. For example, at Productboard, we've developed Pulse to specifically enable humans to remain in the loop and serve as a complementary change management system as product organizations adapt their voice of customer processes to AI-driven workflows. By enabling customers to appropriately configure the key items and themes that they want to track at a strategy level within the organization, enabling customers to use our AI solutions to automatically identify themes in their customer feedback that they might want to track. So to close the loop in terms of how to build AI products that win, there are ultimately three main areas that you want to think about when building AI products. Namely, one, how to build trust by enabling transparent decision-making processes in your product. Secondly, the need for proprietary high-quality data to ensure that you're able to maintain a competitive advantage. And thirdly, how to think through the actionability of your AI systems and the ways in which you can embed yourselves within existing customer workflows. Throughout this session, we've also included references to Productboard Pulse and included examples of how this framework has been applied internally for our own product development. From a trust perspective, we enable citations as well as integration with trusted data points in order to make sure that customers are able to trust our AI analysis outputs. Secondly, we've invested heavily in those set integrations to ensure that we're building on top of a high quality, well-structured data sets. And thirdly, we've invested heavily in integrations with the rest of the Productboard platform to ensure that your roadmap as well as requirements documents can appropriately take into account the customer feedback that you've been collecting at scale. Overall, throughout this session, we've gone through various ways to think through identifying AI product opportunities, including some case studies, both from Productboard as well as my own career. Secondly, talk through how to go to market with AI as well as handle change management. And lastly, how to think through building AI products that win through this common framework of trust, data, and actionability. Cool. So we have a little bit of time for questions. I did receive some ahead of time, so I wanted to address those proactively. One question that I received was, quote unquote, you've worked with AI products in different domains, market analysis, sales, and our product management. What commonalities have you noticed in successful AI implementations across these different use cases, particularly around data quality and actionability? One of the key actionability-oriented themes that I've seen is to integrate directly into product users' existing workflows, whether those are in legacy systems or in new systems that users might want to adopt. So for example, at Sixth Sense, of course, one of the main sources of record for marketers, as well as sales and revenue teams in general, is their customer relationship management platform or CRM, as well as their marketing automation platforms or MAPs or MAPs, right? The main players in this space, of course, being, for example, Salesforce, as well as HubSpot. So at Sixth Sense, we had to integrate directly with these workflows and be a complement to and supplement to these solutions, as opposed to try to compete with them head to head in terms of being the main source of truth for customer data as well as action. What we've seen at Productboard Pulse is that there's a huge emphasis on integrating directly into users' existing roadmap tools as well as engineering delivery tools. So for the most part, users on Productboard are, of course, using Productboard for road mapping, but they're also using systems like Jira to manage their engineering workflows. In the Productboard case, we've integrated directly with Jira so that any roadmap changes that you make within Productboard can be reflected directly in users' engineering systems and appropriately be taken, and action can appropriately be taken within those systems. The second question that I got ahead of time is, given your experience across different companies, how has the balance between automation and human oversight in AI products evolved? Specifically, what tasks do you think will remain human-centric even as AI capabilities advance? So over time, of course, with the development of ChatGPT and other newly launched LLM products, users in the market have gotten more and more comfortable with AI products and are developing more technical expertise, as well as are developing more comfort with offloading human tasks to AI systems relative to how they might have been in the past. So for example, in my previous role at Data.ai, we received many user requests and customer requests for deep dives into our product methodology so that they can understand like how to think through and how to understand and contextualize the model outputs that we were giving them. Whereas these days, with respect to Productboard Pulse, as well as in my prior experience at Sixth Sense, what we saw was that there is a certain amount of that is still needed. Well, we can start to have those conversations be owned more by go-to-market teams and more by support teams, as opposed to by product technical experts. Additionally, of course, customers are coming into the products and coming into the user workflows with a certain degree of market education regarding how AI solutions are built, run, and operated, et cetera. So that base level of understanding of like what an AI solution does doesn't need to be covered as much. In terms of those tasks that will remain human-centric even as AI capabilities advance, what we've seen and what I've seen specifically is that anything that requires a high degree of trust where you can't automate, let's say 90% away of the workflow will still likely require some human in the loop. So for example, going to this personally, like there's like a combination of like taxes, audit, financial systems, et cetera, that will ultimately still require someone to sign off on them. You can think of any legal document basically in this realm, right? Ultimately, AI solutions might be able to automate away a certain percentage of them, but ultimately humans will still need to be in the loop. And I'd like to contrast that with like some workflows that I think can eventually become wholly AI centric. For example, there are many support workflows, right, that wherein the problem space is relatively finite. There's not too much that can occur outside of a relatively known universe of support tickets that a company might need to handle that can potentially become fully AI automated in the long term. Last question that I have for now, and then I'll wrap it up, is at Productboard, you mentioned the importance of transparent AI recommendations and source citations. Could you share an example where this approach helps overcome initial user skepticism or resistance? What specific metrics indicated improved trust? Yeah, great question. So overall, what we've seen is that across our customer base, everyone basically still needs to have that level of citation in order uh, to build trust in the products. Um, at this stage, this is kind of where we get into like the art versus science of product management. Um, at a high level, we're doing detailed customer interviews to kind of understand the root cause of some of our users' hesitations to use product board pulse. What are some of the things that they're looking for improvements regarding, et cetera. And across the board, what we've seen is that not only for our product, but for all of the LLM-based products that customers are using going forward, there needs to be some element of citations, basically, in order to enable customers to develop trust in the solution. So this isn't just a product board only and product board pulse only requirement in terms of building trust in an LLM-based solution. We're seeing it across the board, across not just product management solutions, but also anything that really leverages an LLM. So that's all the time that we have for questions at this time. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you found this interesting, especially with some of the examples that I gave, as well as the product board pulse application of some of these tenets. If you're interested in connecting with me and or product board in general, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn here. You can see my QR code. And I look forward to hearing your feedback on this session. Thank you.